All right, guys, we're live. It's Justin Stenstrom from Elite Man Magazine. And my guest today is my friend Marc Mason from eastsidepropertydevelopment.com. Marc, thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
No problem, Justin. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited, dude. So the people don't know this, dude, but me and you go way back. Some of the listeners will know this, but most listeners have no idea that you and I go way back. Actually, childhood friends. We knew each other for probably since like 7 or 8 years old. We went to school together and, just known each other, kept in touch over the years for many years. And here you are today, dude, super successful, crushing it, real estate industry for sure. And you get a lot of different projects going on. And I wanted to bring you on the show because we chatted probably a month or so ago about this and just catching up and stuff. But I wanted to bring you on the show to talk about everything you're doing with real estate and how you kind of got into that, because our background was very similar, but we also kind of went different paths. You being
Yep.
super successful in this industry, and I'm kind of doing this, totally different thing. But I've been talking a lot of real estate lately, and I love the topic. And there's probably no better guy to talk about it than someone like you, especially since I know you so well.
Yeah, yeah. Come right down the road and talk to me about it.
Yeah, I know. We're right up the street even still now. We could probably just do this in person too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
COVID.
yeah, so dude, fill out the listeners in what exactly do you do right now? And I kind of give them a little sneak peek, but what is it that you say that you do right now? And how did you get into that?
So right now I'm full-time real estate and I have a full-time plumbing company. Um, as you know, I went to Bristol Plymouth, you went to Taunton High School. That was separate paths in life. I went and took the plumbing class. I got a background in plumbing. I was going to follow my plumbing dreams, and then it quickly turned after high school for the better.
Yeah.
So it's funny how it started. I had the plumbing company. I had the real estate company. Super successful, both luckily. Um, I have about five guys working for me for Eastside, and I own RCL Mechanical. I'm a partner in that, and we have about 10 guys. So we stay busy. The plumbing obviously that keeps me. That's a little bit more work. The real estate is just such a viable industry where it's so profitable and so much. It's high risk but profitable, which obviously that's why everybody wants to get into it.
Mm.
Um, my story is a little ironic. It was start off in plumbing. I started working for some real estate, development companies, plumbing, and I was working for a company and I remember being under the sink. It was like, Thursday night, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm grinding out trying to get my last payment for this plumbing job that I was doing for nothing. You know what I mean? Pretty much just trying to grow. I was, just out of high school, trying to open up my own plumbing company. And every time they came in, they'd say something. I'm like, you know, how don't you know this? Why don't you know this? Blah, 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 So I started thinking like these guys are like idiots. Like I could do this. So funny story is they had those radio ads back there, back then. It's like, hey, come, learn how to flip a house. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I don't want to be one of those guys, but I'm gonna go and see what I got for knowledge. And I recorded the whole thing. It was in Provincetown Island, 3 days. It was free. I think it was like $29 to sign up. And we go there and it was 3 days. I took off work Friday, went there Saturday and Sunday, and we listened all day. I recorded on my iPad and I listened to it back. And I got so much knowledge out of that. It was unbelievable. And then I just took that free knowledge. I, Googled, I researched, I was on Bigger Pockets. I was, which is a forum that you go on, and it's a real estate forum, and it's for beginners, beginning investors, and they can teach you all types of different things. But on there, got familiar with it, and I went headfirst into the real estate game. I landed my first. I started getting to know everybody. I started letting people know what I was doing. I landed my first deal in Norton, Mass, and I bought the house for 125, and I didn't even hit a nail on the property, and I sold it for 185, like 2 weeks later.
Oh shit! Wow.
To flip it and rehab it. So technically, it's like a wholesale deal, which a wholesale deal is something like an investor grabs the deal and then flips it without banging a nail. And they leave enough money in it for an investor like myself to rehab the property and then sell it. So
So what did you do? So I want to dive into a few different things because this is really interesting. But what did you actually do to take it from 125 for you to be able to flip it for 185? Did you just said you didn't bang a nail in the place? What did you do to make it worth $60,000 more? Or did you just simply find somebody who was willing to buy it for that price?
correct. Absolutely. It was worth it. I bought it for obviously a very good deal, had a lot of equity in it. And that, and don't forget in that time, which was probably 2015, the real estate market was going like this. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yep.
It was
Coming
just
back up big time.
yeah, exactly. And it was like month after month, everything just started raising. So I think that was on my side a little bit, but yeah, it was multifamily. It was word of mouth. An old plumber that I worked with said, "Hey, my father wants to sell," and that's what we did. I bought it, and it was like, yeah, it was less than a 2 month sale. You know, 185. And then that kind of
Crazy.
like opened up my eyes. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I worked all year last year to get this money, and I got it in 2 months. It was wild. When I
Yeah.
say months, I mean, and I got the offer, and then obviously they used the bank, so it took a little while to close on the situation. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I just turned that into I turned it. And everybody says it's risky. It's right now it's risky. We're coming out of a recession. Who knows what's going to happen? You got this, you got that. You know, you got Trump coming into office now. It's just like and there was a lot of moving parts. There always is, but you can't put your life on hold
Yeah.
because an election or because it's a weird time in life. You got to go.
Yeah.
What I always say is you're not going to get arrested for going bankrupt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You had to
that's
take risks.
yeah, exactly. Not yet, at least. So that was my first deal, and that's how I got into it. And I just went out there. I always used to be like, well, I'm still like humble, but I never wanted to tell people I did real estate, and that was because people think everybody's loaded or they're this, they got that. But that was really the key to success. Once I started telling everybody what I did, I'm so well known around town. Everybody just hey, call Marc Mason, call Mark, he'll help you. So I quickly became the guy around town that, buys the grandmother's house. So this house is falling down, Mark can help you with that. So that's how it started.
Yeah. And then I remember a few years ago, you came up with I think it was an Instagram handle, Mark Buys Houses, right? You still have that one?
So yeah, I changed my Instagram name to Mark Buys Houses because I mean, think about it, you got to stay relevant.
Yeah.
I was
Such a
never
good name.
I never so was a social media guy. You know what I mean? I just
Mm.
had to turn myself into that because that's the way everything's going. It's the best advertisement you have. So changing my Instagram name to Mark Buys Houses, you know, I thought it was very beneficial and it
Yeah.
still is.
Brilliant name. It's brilliant. Very catchy name. So 60K in 2 weeks, basically. I mean, that must have blew your mind completely of what is
Yeah.
possible, like the potential of this whole thing. And that really is incredible, man. So that you went to 3-day course was basically free, like $29 or so, basically free. You
Yep.
go there, changes your life. The coolest thing, and I knew a little bit about this, but I don't know a lot of the story. So this is cool for me too to kind of learn this all. But I think the most impressive thing, or one of the coolest things about your story, is that, like you said earlier, you started as just a plumber, like guy out of high school, trade school.
Yeah.
Back when we were kids too, I don't know if you really remember this, but I certainly do. Seventh, eighth grade, there was sort of a negative connotation to kids that went to trade schools. It was almost like they were the dummies, and everyone else who went to like Taunton High to go to college and all this other stuff, they were the smart kids, and like you guys were like the outcasts, like those just the BP kids, the trade school kids. But I've told this on the podcast many times. Actually, the people that went to trade schools, including yourself and a bunch of other friends that we know mutually, those are the most successful people that I know right now. Out of all like my friends that are my age and our age, they are all the ones who have the nicest cars, the nicest houses, the nicest watches, all that shit, because they actually did things the right way. And they went to sort of the not the school of, learning from book smarts and learning what's in, just reading books, but actual reality of like what's in the real world and how to make money in the real world. And that's one of the most impressive things I think about you. You're not necessarily book smart, but you're incredibly street smart, and you know how to actually make money when it comes down to reality and how the real world works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's, by the way, that's way more important than, being able to quote Shakespeare or something else like that.
Yeah, 100% right. I definitely wasn't book smart, and all the cards were against me in middle school, and some of high school, So
Yeah.
at some points I almost didn't pass high school, and I mean you can go on and on about the,
Trouble
the,
we got into back in the day.
the middle school shenanigans. Yeah, so everybody looked down on everybody going to trade school. I mean, I remember, so everybody splitting ways, and I'm like, I'm the sheep here. Like, what's going on? So, obviously it was the best decision I made. With the tech school, not only did it bring me obviously that trade that you kind of just fell into, um, it was discipline. You know, my teachers were so good at discipline and just kind of like walking you through life. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is how it's gonna go. Like, this is reality. And thankfully I had really good teachers, and there was really good teachers over there. But yeah, it was quite the road. It was
Mm,
quite the road for sure.
yeah.
Coming out of there, I did not, I had no sights of real estate in high school. No sights. It just kind of like clicked to me. I'm like, all these people are making money off, off these flips and rehabs. I'm like, I got the most expensive trade in this house, you know, and I can use that in my benefit to, to work the numbers on getting another house. They're gonna have to pay top dollar. I can do it for cost. So I use that in my to grab a couple properties. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what do you do? I'm sure that helps you, but what does being a plumber actually do as far as like finding some of these properties and being able to get that price down to where you want to buy it, like way less cheaper than everyone else can get it?
So it's multiple things. It's now the thing mostly that works for me is a networking, is actually getting out there and talking to people.
Yeah.
And you find people in the same trade. You find people like, hey, this general contractor needs a plumber, and he's like, he wants to flip houses. I thoroughly enjoy going out there and networking, because you just got to stay relevant. I always say it's like you got to stay consistent, relevant, and disciplined, because do I want to go out there and meet all the time? But like bringing a face to the name is like the most important thing. Once someone knows you, they're gonna contact you. Like it just, I think what the numbers do for me is obviously it's better than most real estate gurus out there. I can kind of get a little tighter on the plumbing. So it kind of helps me on the edge with the numbers a little bit. And right now it's good because it's so hard to find deals right now. Everybody's asking me, how do you find these deals? How do you find these deals? And it's not necessarily me taking a little bit off the plumbing price. It's more of the past 5, 8 years, I've stayed so disciplined on, going out, meeting people, networking, social media, knowing my numbers, knowing where I'm at. You know what I mean? Spending $30,000 a year in marketing, $40,000 a year in marketing. I'll just put ads up just to put ads up. It won't even say, hey, I want to buy a house, but it's just, oh, East Side. East Side. Okay, Mark does this, and it's all about people around here. And everybody's like, how do you flip 20 houses a year in Taunton and surrounding towns? It's like, they're here. You gotta make them. It's starting to get a little smaller profit margins now that everybody's doing it, and now there's not much properties on the market because everybody's holding the foreclosures for this moratorium. So I'm actually doing new constructions now, and we started prepping for this about a year and a half ago. I told my guys, I said, hey, shit's gonna get weird, and so we gotta make sure we're ready. You know what I mean? I want to make sure all you have a job. I have a job. Let's make sure you have a job. You guys are successful, so the company's successful. And well, that's what we did. We made sure that because we don't really do much customer work. Usually that's like referrals, like, hey, yeah, and I'll take care of you. I'll help you out. So we started getting more into customer work, like high-end kitchens. We I started digging into how to work land deals, and then and how to find them. And so about a year and a half ago to now, I mean, I went from doing no new constructions to I'm probably going to finish 6 this year. So, which once again, everybody's a little nervous, but you can't be nervous about what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So we're full speed right now, and it doesn't look like we're stopping. You
Yeah.
know?
That's awesome. Yeah, and you just opened a restaurant too, like, or your partner in a restaurant a few months ago as well,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
really nice too. By the way, food's delicious. What's it
Yeah.
called? I forget the name.
River House, Weir Village.
River House in Taunton. If you
Yeah.
guys are ever around Boston area, check that out. It's a delicious place.
Steak and sea-
Um,
nice
what's that?
steak and seafood and a nice patio outside.
Yeah, but I went there and over the winter when it was like just opening up, but right before the winter, so it was cold. But the inside's beautiful. But I know you have a whole nice outside setup, which
Yeah.
is really cool. So I'm gonna check that out soon.
Yeah. We're gonna have to go there sometime.
Yeah, definitely do. Get a couple drinks.
Well, sometimes on a Friday.
Yeah. But all right. So you said what's this new construction thing? Because I'm not really familiar with that. I know the flipping the houses thing. I know understand that, but you said you got about 6 new constructions. What's that look like? Are you looking at like properties and then you work with people to build the houses after that?
So, well, we wanted to start developing because not everybody wants to develop. Everybody wants to flip a house. So developing is a little more time consuming. There's more permitting and stuff like that. So um, I'll subcontract about 50% of the job out. So I'll hire a framer, Bobby's dad or something
Hmm.
like that.
Yep.
Hire framers, siders, and I'll get the house weather tight, and we'll take my guys will take it from the inside. You know,
Hmm.
so that's kind of how it's been rolling right now. But it's more time consuming. There's way more risk in it because you really gotta know your numbers. You gotta know you gotta know your schedule. Everything, like with real estate, everything is schedule. You gotta know what you're doing. Another thing with the plumbing, I knew construction with plumbing. So being around construction all the time, I kind of knew how things worked and what things cost and stuff like that. So, your normal rehabber, like that wants to sell houses and buy them and flip them, they don't know the numbers. And they can go walk into a house. I think this needs 50 grand. Do they know that, or they're just taking just a guess? I can kind of go in and analyze a little bit better.
Yeah.
So it's all about kind of staying, you know, that's another thing. It's networking. You know what I mean? If you meet, this general contractor, you give him something that he can value from you. Maybe he can teach you a thing or two. Hey, come to my job sites once a week. Come check them out. I know I'm very big on that. Any like newbie or anybody that comes around and says, "Hey, I want to flip house," I'm like, absolutely. Like, what do you need to know? Like, you're more than welcome to spend a day with me. You're more than welcome to call me, DM me, whatever you need to do, because the more successful people that I'm around, the more successful I'm going to be. It's not like about being like, hey, I want all these for myself. Like, if everybody grows, I grow. Um, and that's kind of how my motto's been, and it's been super successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. So you even drop and by the way, like you've been that's another thing too that they don't teach you in school, and especially when it comes to you know, books and things like that. Like you're a
I
great
teach you a lot.
they miss out a lot of good life lessons and skills that you need, throughout life. And one of those skills is actually being able to communicate effectively and being a good social communicator. And you're an incredible one, whether you really realize, I think you kind of know you are, but I think you're actually a lot better than you even realize you are. You're very effective at getting across. And I've noticed this too throughout the years, to all different types of people, like not just one certain group of people, but like across the board, all kinds of different people. I've noticed you're very effective and good at communicating and getting your message across and like having a good conversation with that. So I think that goes a long way into that networking aspect that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're struggling in life and you're living in your car, or if you're living on a yacht. Like, I'm gonna treat you the same, and that's
Yeah.
just kinda how my brain operates. And I think you never know when you're gonna be there. So that's kind of how I put myself in those footsteps. I could lose everything tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Everything could shift. I could lose everything, and I could be there in a super bad spot with a divorce. So in any case, that happens so much around this industry. So I never take that for granted, and I just like helping people. You know what I mean? And it goes back to it helps everybody. You know what I mean? It helps your town, your city. It's just it's you got to level up with people, and people go through tough times, as you know what I mean, whether it's drugs or jobs, divorces, that happens in life. And every family has a drug addict in their family, and it's unfortunate, but I think it takes you a little while. I think when you get older, you kind of realize like, hey, it's actual a disease. You gotta like pump them up. You gotta like support them because, you gotta give them a chance. So that's kind of how I'm at. But overall, I forget what you hit. The networking thing, being like a talker. Yeah, I think I developed that over years.
Yeah.
Uh, I did not. I still to this day, I walk in Walmart. I'm like ducking and dodging. I don't always like talking. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm
Same.
not a talker. I'm on the phone all day. I
Yeah.
get like 100 phone calls a day. So sometimes I'm like, I kind of like putting the hood on and kind of like, all right, let
Yeah.
me, think, but yeah, no, I think I'm a networker because I have to be.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I like the quietness, but yeah, I probably say that I'm social. I like going out. I mean, we see each other out. I like
Yeah.
drinking, kind of socially drinking, going out, seeing what people do. I like the idea of getting in front of other people that are higher than me. I've been trying to do that a lot lately in the past year. I've been trying to put myself in a position to be next to a developer that does 400 units a year. Which is very hard. And the alternative is listen to podcasts, read books, stuff like that. So I've been trying to really be disciplined on that. But you are who you hang out with. So that's kind of where I've been trying to go. Um, just to grow, simple as that. I kind of want to grow. I want to, yeah, I want to do stuff in different states. I want to buy a 100 apartment building. So in order to get there, you gotta know your game. You gotta stay with the market, and you gotta make yourself known in town. You just gotta just like I said. I mean, part of that reason that I have so much marketing and stuff like that is just because they see me, oh, east side, east side, east side, so, oh, I heard of you, east side. So that goes with kind of trying to stay relevant and to try to level up with these guys that are bigger than me.
Yep. And I'm sure you're going to get there too, man. You've done pretty much everything you've tried to do along the way. And so far, I mean, not every single one has been successful, but I'm
Yeah.
sure, I'm sure you've had some downfalls and stuff, but a lot of what you've been doing over the course of the past 10 years or so has been very successful. So I have no doubt that you're going to get to that place. Can you throw us some ideas though, for people that are kind of dabbling with this real estate space and trying to get into it and just understand it a little better? Can you throw us some ideas, suggestions of like what you look at as a real estate guy, as someone who, flips houses and develops new houses and that whole sort of thing? What do you look for in these new properties? What do you look for like, trying to make a profit, trying to find that deal where you're making 60K in like 2 weeks? And what are some of the things that you sort of recommend people look into?
So one thing that I do recommend, I mean, if you're looking for your first deal, you got to stay. There's a couple of things I always go by it. You have to, get the contract, stay consistent, and stay disciplined. Number one, you have no house if you don't have a contract. So if you get that, you have to do whatever you have to do to get the contract. You got to stay disciplined. What I mean by that is, you got to know your numbers, and then so disciplined, contract, and consistent. And consistent as in you gotta have your phone with you 24/7. House comes on the market, you're gonna be the first one to call. You're gonna be the first one to go there. Whatever it takes. That's what you need. You need to get that contract. Once you have that contract signed, you can figure it out. I've told the story many of times that I've called people. I'm like, who did I just tell a story to? There's another investor. January, it was New Year's Eve, and a house came on the market. I've been, kind of dry. I haven't had a house in about a month. And for me, that's kind of like, I'm like itching, like a drug. So, I had a couple soda pops. New Year's Eve, it was like 8 o'clock. The
Yeah.
house was on the market. It was 8 o'clock on a Friday night. I called the realtor. Um, I said, listen, he's like, it was 199,000. I said, I want this house. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm gonna put an offer in right now. sight unseen. I'll take the tenants and non-refundable deposit, which I do not recommend doing non-refundable deposits because it's just very risky. But I've done it so much, I could kind of do it. And
How much is a deposit? Down payment on a house?
1,000 it was
Okay.
5,000 deposit. So he called me back the next day. He says, I done a little research on you. Seems like you know what you're doing. It's yours. I ended up closing the deal, got it for 199. I put about 70,000 into it, and I sold it for 369.
No shit.
Um, yeah, and the two things I did, all the things I did was I stayed consistent, even though I was out with my friends having fun. I stayed consistent. I got the contract, and I was disciplined. To a certain extent. I mean, I don't really recommend saying, "Hey, I won't see the house," but I knew that there was plenty. Even if I put 120,000 dollars into this 2,000 square foot home, I knew there was money to be made on the back end, and I kind of have that fluff factor that if I did lose my $5,000 deposit, it's kind of part of the game at this point, which I probably have over a lot of different new investors, but they need to stay all over it. You've got to be on top of it when it comes to the market, or you're not. And like what I said about my social media and my marketing, that guy looked me up and he said, "Oh, it looks like they know what they're doing." You know what I mean? So he gave me the property. So that's another thing that they should, right away. You gotta dig in. You know what I mean? You gotta believe in yourself, because if you don't, they're not gonna believe in you. So you gotta get that social media going. You gotta fake it till you make it. I had someone tell me that like 15 years ago. Fake it till you make it, Mark.
Yeah.
That was when I was plumbing. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Let me do this, And sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to make it to the finish line.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and they should be surrounded. They should have somebody. Everybody knows a contractor, so just pick one of your friends. Say, hey, I'll buy you lunch every time I take you out to look at a house. I'll buy you lunch. Just be ready for when I call. We gotta go look at it. Because that's what happens. I'd probably even say, hey, I'll give you 10% of the profit if you come look at every house with me and give me a price for remodeling it, because whatever. I mean, it's only a stepping stone to what it could be in the future. So, I mean, just making money is a plus. Never mind if you do 3 or 4 of them in a year, or 10. You
Yeah.
know, so you just gotta do what you gotta do to get the job done and make a little bit of money.
Who would be the contractor that we know? Is it Bobby and his father, or is it just like random other people that do a whole
So
thing?
when you call, everybody's so busy right now. When you call someone, they're like, hey, I'm busy. I'll charge you $200 to go look at this, or they blow you off. Not, more than not, contractors are unreliable, especially for people that are not in the business. If I call the contractor, I know I am a contractor, but like a different contract, like, hey, like I need vinyl siding. I don't do
Mhm.
that.
Okay.
They'll come right to me because I give them $1,000 a year. But if you called them and they know you didn't do any deals, and they're gonna say, yeah, yeah, I'm all set.
Hmm.
So I recommend, like in your case, hey, like I like this house, Bobby. Come over here. Let me know what you think it's gonna take the time and money to build this or to fix this.
Gotcha.
I think you should obviously do a little bit more due diligence. Sit down, crunch numbers, call people like me. Call this person. Everybody knows somebody that flips a house too. So like if your cousin's uncle does it, call him. 9 times out of 10, people aren't going to be like, hey, this is my information. I don't want to show it to you, because it's kind of embarrassing for someone to say.
Mm.
Most people, I think, want to help you, if they're decent people.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense. What else are you looking at? What about that house that you got on New Year's Eve made it stick out so much? Like what are some of the things that you look into for new deals, new houses that are like, holy shit, I need to drop what I'm doing right now, even though it's New Year's Eve, I'm hanging with my boys and having a good night.
yeah.
This is the house that I want to get. Like, what are some of the things that really stick out when you're looking at new places that really, seem like they have a huge profit at the end of the day?
So in this area, I don't know where all your fans are from, but in this area, anything that has a one in front of it is a deal. And this this was 199,000, so I'm like, good deal.
Yeah.
You can't find that around here. And it was a multifamily. And multifamilies don't sit on the market. You know, everybody wants to invest, and a lot of people want to invest and not do the work. So you do the work for them. Like I listed this house for 330, and I got 369. Went like 40 over asking.
You got
So
40 more than you asked for.
yeah,
Holy shit. That's not too many industries where you can ask for a price of what you're charging and someone says, no, I'll give you $40,000 more.
yeah. Usually it's the opposite. Go to a dealership, you're screwed.
Yeah, no shit.
So I mean, and that's why even the more power for everybody to get involved in real estate. You know, I mean, I would like to think it's the number one way to build your wealth through passive income and rentals. Real estate flips, if you're really on top of your game, you can make it a business. Like I've made it a business. You know, I have a lot of tax deductions and I have a lot of tax avenues that I can 1031 the money, which is an exchange to save on taxes to buy rentals. So, but once you get in, that's a little bit more in depth than what we should probably get into now. But like I'm flipping a house, putting it into a long-term rental and gonna make that long-term wealth, you know? So, I mean, I feel like real estate's probably the number one thing. That's why it's the hardest to get into. You know, your average American probably has what, 15, 20 grand saved up. So if that, you know, so it's tough to get the money down, you know, it's tough to get the back and by a bank. So if you can do it, you can do the research and put yourself in front of the right people. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. You know, it's the hardest thing is pulling the trigger on the first deal. Once you pull the trigger on the first deal, it's history. You get it. You know what I mean? You'll just get it.
Yeah. Clicks after that.
Yep.
What, how much did you have to put down or how much did you have like saved up for that very first deal you made where you had to put where you made the 60K? Was it like you had a lot of money saved up from say plumbing and that kind of thing? And then you were
Yeah.
able to put a lot of money into it? Because I'm like you said just a moment ago, like the average person doesn't have a ton of money sitting around. They maybe have, 10, 20,000 at the very most in their savings, and they don't have enough money to like, or enough extra money to risk into throwing into real estate, a down payment on a house. What do you recommend that these people do?
So, number one is stick with your W-2 job. You know, your W-2 job is going to be a lifeline because it's going to let all the banks and lenders know that you have a job, you have a weekly paycheck, you know, especially if you make good money. And 9 times out of 10, if you put your mind to it, you can do flipping houses on the side. I'm very organized and I came from a project management background in the pole plumbing thing. So I was very good at scheduling. So I can flip like four or five houses a year with a full-time job. You know, I was always known as like the telephone guy. You know what I mean? Home Depot's like, oh, Mark, the telephone guy. I never seen him, but he's always on the telephone. So I made it happen. You know what I mean? I just made it happen. And I did have some money saved up between my W-2 job that paid me very well and my plumbing on the side, my plumbing business on the side. You know, I probably had like, 80 to 100 grand saved up, but, that was just grinding away. But the good thing is that, I mean, I wouldn't run away from me saying that. I think I was in a better position than most people because, like you said, the tech school and I didn't have college loans. Most people do. But I actually, on this first loan, first house, I used a private money lender. And what happened was he lended me 90% of the value, which I only had to put 10% down on the house. And he gave me a 12% interest rate. So, I was out of my pocket very minimal, 10% down 125, and then he gave me a 12% interest rate per month. So, and it was interest only coming off the loan. So it was a high risk loan, but I mean, I used all of his money. And the reason he lent it to me is because it was such a deal. You know, obviously he's going to do his research and say, okay, this thing's worth, 185 or 200. I'm gonna definitely give Mark the money for this deal because if he forecloses and doesn't pay his payments, I have a deal. You know what I mean? I get this house. So I actually, I was out of pocket with that house like 20 grand.
Oh shit. That's pretty
So,
cool.
and if you guys ever need like private money lenders or anything like that, DM me on Instagram or Facebook, and I can get you guys in touch with some people.
Yeah. Do you ever do that yourself with other people?
I do a lot of JV work. It's like a joint venture where you kind of partner up with people. And, I'll partner up with people and say, hey, let's go 50-50, I'll teach you the ropes. So I kind of act as a coach sometimes. Sometimes I partner up with people that, do more deals than me, and I'm the rookie, So, it's some people get like I'd rather partner up with somebody than give a hard money lender, 12% interest, so, you make a little bit less money, but you have two people, less work. You guys can both stop by there. You got, skin in the game, both of you. So there's multiple ways you can make it work. If you find a first deal, I mean, the hardest part in real estate is finding the deal. If you find the deal, you'll find someone to fund it. If you come to me and say, I have this 300, the resale value on this house marks 300,000, it needs 50,000. I could buy it for 100,000 right now. Mark, you want to do it? I'd be like, listen, I'll put all the money in. I'll put all the money in. You manage the rehab, and we'll call it a day. And you just, you're gonna cut $75,000 checks at the end of the day for me and you. So the hardest part's finding the deal. Like I said, get that contract, get that deal. The money will follow. I wouldn't even worry about, how you're gonna get the money. Is if you put that thing under contract, you'll and if it's a good enough deal and your construction costs are correct, then you're gonna find somebody.
How do you go about getting these contracts together? Do you have to you got a lawyer I'm sure you work with, or someone that does these business contracts, these real estate contracts for you?
I do my own contracts now, which is just a blank like realtors MAR form that, I mean, there's a million realtors out there, so they could probably share it with you. But, you know, real estate attorneys do the contracts. You can do the contract, anybody can do the contract, and or realtor. Say, if you're really a newbie and you're like, hey, everybody knows a realtor, so just have one of your realtor friends help you out to write it. It's basic information on it, name, address, stuff like that. Nothing like crazy.
Yeah. It seems like it's a little complicated at first when you start hearing contracts and these types of things, but from my experience dealing with contracts in the business world, once you kind of have one down or you know how to set up one, the other one's just like basic, just kind of like repeating it, duplicating it over and over again, right?
Yeah, yeah. I have it set up PDF where all I do is just change the address and all of my information's on there. So
Oh,
when I'm
sweet. Yeah.
ready to go, I print it out, write their name in, I go and meet them,
Yep. Yep.
But you always gotta be prepared. You're always gonna have them on tap, because the deals are gonna come when you least expect it.
Yeah.
So like Friday night, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you know what
Yeah. Do you ever do, is there like a website you ever use? Is there ever like you go on say Trulio or Trulia, whatever, one of those sites and you're like shopping around. Do you ever do any of that stuff to try to find deals?
I mean? I don't. I mean, I did get one. Like, most of my deals come off Facebook and word of mouth.
People just reach out to you and say, I got this thing. Are you interested?
Being in the area, I do a lot of marketing when I have like softwares that send out postcards to people that are behind on taxes, behind on foreclosures, um, that have a lot of equity in their house and just sends out postcards. They kind of look like this, actually.
Okay, cool.
So it takes a picture of their house. This is actually great.
Yeah.
This guy actually mailed it back to me and put how much he wanted on it. This guy wants 160,000. Unfortunately, the numbers don't work at that, so I didn't buy it, but I saved it so I could follow up on it.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool. So how
Yeah.
do you get that information from them? Is it just
So
Facebook has that in there?
if you go to Bigger Pockets, I mean, well, first off, I got the knowledge of all that from going to that 3-day course.
Hmm.
It was actually called Fortune Builders. And then they told me about Bigger Pockets. I went on to biggerpockets.com and it's a complete real estate. It's a podcast, it's a blog, anything you need to know about real estate's on that. Anything. You could spend hours and days on that. And if you're really that passionate about real estate, you can just read up on that daily, listen to podcasts daily, and you can figure it out pretty quickly.
Bigger
You know,
pockets.
and and that's just how I get them. So I mail those postcards out. People call me. I follow up. I cold call. I'm not scared. I'm not scared to like, cold call somebody that owns a distressed house and say, hey, your grass is not cut. Are you interested in selling? I just talked to somebody today, and actually a buddy that's a plumber told me, hey, call on this house. Like there's always cops over there and this and that. I called him today, and now we're in negotiations.
Nice.
It goes back to the word of mouth thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. You're like known as the guy who does this type of stuff. So you got people from across the board hitting you up constantly. And it takes a lot of that work that you probably used to have to do where you're reaching out to a lot more people and, being the Mark from the phone guy, just
Yeah,
calling
yeah,
everybody up. I'm sure you're doing that a lot, but it's probably a lot easier now that people just kind of know your name.
yeah, yeah, 100%. As you can tell, like my shirts will say like just little things like cash for referrals, and it's very small, and it's designed like that. But that's just like if you have one of my shirts, you're gonna like remember it.
Yeah.
Nice looking shirt if you wear it like to the gym or something, but like on the sleeves it just says like it just kind of gives you just kind of like gentle reminders what we do.
What's that other sleeve say?
Is we buy houses.
Oh.
You
So
know?
you actually give people referrals though for cash when they refer out your business. So they get
Yeah,
money just for saying your name.
the house I bought on the street was a referral.
Nice.
One of my friends met her at a bar, and they were actually moving to New York, and I gave him $2,000 for just referring me it.
Oh shit. That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude. That's awesome. What are some of the what's the best ones that you look for as opposed like would you rather get one like that original deal where it's like a quick sale because it was like 60K right off the bat, or would you rather do these ones where you're building them out, you're developing them, or the ones where you have to I think you called it rehab, like do a lot of work on the inside because
Yep.
there might be more profit on the back end of it. What's like the better deal or the best deals?
So I'm big on staying busy. If I'm not busy, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. And it's kind of like what I said earlier about staying relevant. Like if I did the quick deals, I don't think I'd really have much um like like a boot in the industry. If I did them, because I'd be like buy sell buy sell. I'll have houses, but I'll be more of like a wholesaler. I want to be known as like the guy to go to. So if it takes me a little bit more work and even less money, I usually like going through it, especially because I have full-time guys now. Normally, when you are a real estate developer or investor, you don't have your own labor. You subcontract everything out. I found a niche where I hired my own guys to kind of be a staple at each one of my properties to kind of move things along and to stay ahead of schedule, which makes me turn houses faster so I can do more volume quicker. So that's kind of my niche, where I can turn them. Like sometimes I turn houses in 90 days. Normally someone turns them in 6 months.
Oh
So
shit.
sometimes I have the windows ordered before I even close on the house, which is very risky. But windows are 9 weeks right now. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Because of COVID. So I do it. I just roll with it. And once again, once you get to like a level that you can kind of take those risks, then you do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like being relevant. I like taking videos. I hire a photographer, a videographer. I used to have a social media marketer that takes care of all my social media. I took that over recently, not by choice, but I'm doing good with it for right now until I find someone else that can do it. So yeah, no, I like the long projects. When I say long, I like 3 month projects.
Yeah. Not super long, but just long
Yeah,
enough to
yeah.
make probably more money.
Especially the big ones right now. I did one on Tremont Street not too long ago in Taunton, and it was a real 6 month rehab. We got done in about 4 months, but dropping $177,000 into a property is not really what I want to be doing in the middle of a pandemic and election. But we did it, and we finished it in September. Had it sold like 3 days after the election, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's,
Just
it's, a, it's a
right in
risk.
time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good point too. You mentioned it earlier with Trump and you got Biden. There's always going to be sort of unpredictable things that enter into the market too. And you can't
Yeah.
shy away from making moves and, taking a chance just because the outside world is changing. Of course, you got to be wary of it, but it should not dictate, your day-to-day decisions. At the end of the day, it's like, you got to take risks anyways to make money in business. And it seems like you're on top of that. What, yeah, do you want to add something?
Nope, nope, nope. You're right. It's a risky business, and no risk, no reward.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation about the restaurant too. And, a few months back about it when you first opened it up, but I'm like, hey, I mean, you're crushing it, man. You know what you're doing way more than I am when it comes to this space. And, so far it looks like the restaurant's been doing great for you as well.
It's been successful. It's been successful. That was definitely a rocky business to go into.
Yeah.
You know, I just everything kind of teed up for me, and I'm like, you
Mhm.
know what? The way my brain operates is like when everybody's scared to do something, that's when I want to do something.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling is when I was done with rehabbing the restaurant, the pandemic was going to be over, and it kind of worked out that way. I think we get screwed a little bit with the volume and the capacity for a little bit, which actually worked out because if we were full capacity right off the rip, I think we would have got really hurt with like customer service and being prepared for that. We weren't
Yeah.
prepared to be so successful.
Yeah.
And actually, the pandemic actually helped us. So now, we're ready. We're coming out of it, and we got the right equipment. We had to get larger coolers. We had to work out the kinks. So the partners are doing good with it. We're actually we're very successful right now. Knock
Yeah.
on. You know.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's awesome. And yeah, kind of like eased you into it with the whole pandemic and was
Yeah.
actually beneficial at the end of the day. How many properties do you own right now, as opposed to like do you ever hold on to properties as opposed to just like flipping them after 3 months or so, or even
Yeah.
sooner than that? Do you ever have like long-term plays of like, I want to own these amounts so I can get rent and that kind of thing for the 20, 30 years
Yep.
terms and all that type of stuff?
So right now it's very hard to find rentals that actually make sense to buy and hold it for an investor. Um, it's very hard. I've gotten one over the past 2 years, but I have 13 units right now. So managing 13 units, which the passive income is kind of really where I want to be.
Yeah.
And all these houses and apartment buildings, but the problem is finding them for the right price for now, because you make your money when you buy it. That's both for flips and rentals. You got to make your money when you buy it. You got to do your analysis. You want to make sure if a person moves out, you kind of get that fluff and the first and second floor coverage. But everybody's overpaying for multifamilies right now. Hence why mine went 40,000 over asking. Um, which that's a long term game. I think that's what I was telling you earlier. I really want to find something with like 20, 30, 50, 100 units, but I think I'm ready for it. It's just a matter of finding it. Right now I'm undercover trying to like work some deals in like downtown Taunton for these old mill buildings. So they have some grants and stuff like that they help with the hazardous and the environmental issues that are going on down there. So I'm trying to like get creative with the city of Taunton and kind of like get in with them and see if I can clean up some of the buildings up there, because the people from the Boston are moving down here. Every house I sell, by the way, is always somebody from up in Boston and north of Boston, because all the prices down here are like half the cost. You know what I mean? A three
Yeah.
family in Boston's 1.5 million. Down here it's 600, 500, 400,000.
Wow.
So everybody's moving down here.
Yeah. Especially now too, with the lockdowns, the shutdowns, it's like nothing even open up there. So what the hell's the point of,
Yeah.
living up there for 3 times the cost?
Yep. Yep. I agree with you. So that's what you're seeing. So yeah, and when I have these 13 units over the past 5 years, I've probably gotten 6 to 8 calls. 3 of them for like ants, and I'll just call an exterminator and say, hey, can you go down there and spray for ants and call it a day? you know. Um, it's very minimal work, especially if you go in there, you fix it up, you rent it, you really do your due diligence with the renters. I've had no issues, really no issues. Knock on wood. Even during this COVID, everybody's paid.
Oh shit. Oh
So
shit.
luckily, it just happened to work out. Like I told you before, I'm trying to go with the market now. Like I told you, the land is kind of falling onto my lap a little bit more than houses, so I'm going with it. I'm not going to overpay for houses. Just to overpay for houses. So whether it's rentals and buying land, customer work, this, you gotta like mold to the market,
Yeah.
to stay on top of it, to stay ahead of everybody. So I think the new thing coming down there this way is like condos and townhouses and stuff like that. So I'm gonna try to like sneak in there and try to get into that game a little bit.
Mm, that's awesome, dude. I love it. Just wrapping up in a moment, man. It's been a great interview. I do want to ask you though, how we talked about like not being scared to make a move, and
Yep.
you have to take chances in life, especially in business, to make money and to be successful. But how are you sort of recession proofing yourself if that does come? We've seen the spike in gas already in the past couple of months. We've seen some a little bit of inflation in some different products in grocery stores and stuff. What are you doing though right now to make sure that you're going to be okay if a recession does hit the housing market again, like say back in 2008?
So you're gonna go off your beliefs. I don't believe, if you talked to me a year ago, I probably would have said it, but I don't believe that we're gonna hit anything like we did in '08. With past predicting the future, I don't think we're gonna see that this time. I just think with this technology boom, we're just gonna keep rising. That's my beliefs. Um, you know, we're due for a recession. I think we're overinflated right now, but I don't know if that's where the new market's going to be, and we're just going to stabilize. Um, to be recession proof, you got to build you got to build your business. Like I was talking about earlier. You have to. I started getting ready for this 2 years ago. I think we're going to start to see something kind of decline a little bit, but nothing crazy. Um, I was ready. I'm ready not to flip houses. If I flip 2 houses a year now, I'm okay with that because now I got all this land. Now I do all this work for customers, and now So I'm starting to like kind of teeter in other situations that can actually, that I can move my guys around. I have a little bit differently. Like when you're a basic real estate investor, you don't really have full-time employees. Everything's subcontracted out. But just for me to stay so relevant and intertwined into things, and to keep the guys going, I needed to pick up the volume and just do different types of markets. Um, like I said earlier, you don't go to jail for going bankrupt. Not that you want to plan on it, but like I could see someone being scared. Like if you think about it, just think about it. Like they're not going to put you away for that. You try your best. You open up your business. You try your best. You do your thing. You try to protect it and lessen the liability as much as possible. That's all you can do. But you can't say, if I sat back and listened to everybody 2 years ago, 3 years ago, about easy, Mark, easy, Mark, easy, don't do that, don't do this, you're crazy. I would not be flipping 10 houses, 15 houses, 20 houses a year. I would not be. They call me. It's funny. I get called Trigger Mark because I just pull a trigger. And it's some of it's like I get a little excited, but I just pull the trigger. You got to do what you got to do, and I kind of go back to the first deal. You just gotta go in and dive deep, because if there's a will, there's a way. You'll make it work. You know what I mean? Like you call on somebody. You just gotta know your numbers. Stay consistent. Stay disciplined. Get the contract, and call resources. There's so much resources online that something like I said earlier. You actually don't need to be there. You can listen to podcasts. You can. I Clubhouse. I thought Clubhouse was kind of stupid when I opened it up, but I kind of go on there because I'm trying to level up and talk to these other guys that are in my business that I want to, that I look up to. So it kind of makes me in a position with them. Sometimes I get called up to talk. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm getting there. I'm close. But you just got to dream, and you're gonna make it happen, make it reality.
Nice. I
And you do
love it,
a
dude.
very good job with it.
Yeah.
Just stay consistent. You're always on here. You're always doing the right thing. You're always posting. You're always staying up with, and you're always staying up with the politics. You're always, you got the magazine going on. You got the website going. You got the blog going. I mean, if you stayed complacent, you wouldn't have had that stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, people like podcasts. You were actually one of the first people that I knew that was on a podcast. I'm like Justin's on a podcast. what the hell's a podcast?
Yeah.
That's before, like, seriously, I'm not lying. So congrats to you, man, because
Thanks, man.
you were the first person I knew around here that was doing it. And I think you were just all over. You knew the internet game. You were on here. You did your research. You knew what you wanted to do, and you've been consistent for years. I mean, when did you open up Elite?
6, 7 years ago, a long time ago.
And sometimes it takes 10 years to get,
Yeah.
to really blow up. But I mean, you've done a good job with it. So kudos to
Thanks,
you.
man. Thanks, man. And I think that's honestly what I like about you most too, or why I can respect all the things that you're doing. Cause I kind of see a lot of similarities in what we've both done. And like we're doing two completely different things in two completely different areas, but I think we both think alike. And we've sort of put ourselves out there and tried new things, like sort of been on the cusp or one of the first people to really do it, at least especially from where we come in Taunton. One of the first people to really go out there and kind of go out on a limb and try new things and get creative with it. And might not have been like you were, I think, a lot more successful right away than I was, but not serious, like very successful right away. It took like a lot of trying new things and being creative to really kind of get to, the success that we're kind of at now in our respective fields.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, man, it's been a fantastic interview, man. I really appreciate you coming on. What is the last send-off takeaway message you'd like to leave the Elite Man audience, and then a place our listeners can check out your work?
So if you're looking to get into real estate, get the contract, surround yourself by people that you want to be surrounded by, and don't be afraid to look up the resources. When you're at the gym, instead of listening to Biggie, listen to Bigger Pockets. Go be all in. You got to be all in, you can't go half in. When you're on the way to the gym, listen to Bigger Pockets podcast. When follow people that you look up to, just put yourself in that position and everything will come together. And then you guys can follow me on Eastside Property LLC on Instagram, on Facebook, same thing, Eastside Property Development. And then my personal account's Marc Buys Houses. So that's where I'm at. I follow all Justin's stuff. So
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and we're going to link up to all that stuff, by the way, so you can follow them and as well. And yeah, likewise, man, I follow all your stuff. I'm a big fan. So guys, eastsidepropertydevelopment.com, follow on Instagram, Facebook as well. Marc, thanks again for coming on, brother. Really do appreciate it. And I know our guys are going to love this one. So take care and I'll talk to you soon.
no problem, Justin. Take care, buddy.